Hi, everyone. It's Betty from Awakened Possibilities. We got Sandy back with us, and we're going to be talking about the weird energies. I know I've been feeling them. I know Sandy's been feeling them, and I'm hearing from other people they're feeling them. So I thought it was a good thing to address today. I don't know what it's like where you guys are, but today is a dreary, cold, rainy day. Had to turn the heat back on in the house, turn the air conditioning off. I'm in my warm woolies, and this you look like springtime. Hey, Teresa.
It is springtime. It's interesting. I went, I have my own way of seeing crazy things. Hi, Teresa. When I went and picked up some things, and I bought some cream for my coffee, and I look at the date and it says July 23rd, and it's like summer hasn't even come yet, and it's half over in the cream world, right? But I had a sweater on and a rain jacket when I was out this morning, and it's just, I have the fireplace on and the window open, so I still have dry heat in the house, but fresh air at the same time. I know people would cringe if my bill's not that high. It's not that my heating bill's that high, but I leave it on for an hour or so, and then I get the dry heat, but I can still get the fresh air. So I get the best of both worlds.
There you go. Well, I'm waiting for the heat to really kick in because I just turned it on this morning. I was dying. I was got to do something. I took a hot shower to warm up.
Wow. I have a hot shower every day, but I
couldn't wait to get into it. And Andy was like, I was waiting for him to wake up, and he's like, "Why'd you take a shower so quickly?" And I'm like, "Because I was freezing." As soon as because I was up really early this morning, guys, and so I was like, and I was waiting for him to wake up because my shower is in the bedroom, in the ensuite. Like, get out of bed! I don't want to wake you.
I hear you. But you know what? It's mind over matter. There's times my feet are cold in the wintertime when I'm in bed, and I can take my mental energy and go down and warm up my feet. So I don't have to get out and go put a pair of socks on. So I don't wear socks usually, but there's times my feet, they're just cold. So I can send my mental energy down there. The problem is it has to bypass through my whole body. Then I'm throwing the covers off because I'm warm for a couple of minutes, right? But at least it warms my feet up. So it's amazing what we can do with our mental energies.
Yeah, that's true. And well, let's just, with all this weird weather, because my sister had snowed today. She's just a little bit north
of Toronto. Yeah.
Yeah. And she was like, I had to cover my plants because there's snow. So not only do we have weird energy, we have weird weather.
And we have people manipulating the weather. So when we understand all that, we can take it all in stride. So this is going to be an interesting conversation today, talking about the weird energies and how we are supported in different ways. And once we understand how these energies work, we can support ourselves in a more constructive way, so we don't have to go through the ups and downs of the insanity.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And recognize them for what they are too. Because I actually think that they're here for a purpose.
You mentioned that.
Yeah. I think they're here to make us feel things that make us feel uncomfortable, to address issues.
And that's what we had talked about. The issues are coming no matter what. Issues are here. They are going to be here for the next number of months. And we're going to try to explain the best to our ability of why they're happening. So this is bigger than each of us as individuals. However, we have to get our individual house in order, to get our collective house in order, and maintain our equilibrium. Right. Yep. So yeah, weird energies everywhere, Teresa. We're going through a bit of a drought here, and I can't help but wonder if that was intentional, if they're going to go after the crops. Am I right or am I wrong? I don't really care. These are thoughts that come into my mind and make me wonder what the real agenda is at play. We get a portion of it, but regardless of what comes our way, we still have to stay centered to be able to see what's going on, understand, and even what would you call that? Assess the situation. Is this mine? Is it collective? Is it something we can do by raising our frequency? Do we need to step up and say we're not accepting? So we're going to become very mutable in the future and be able to move in any direction and either confront, sidestep, retreat, whatever we need to do, right?
Right. And I actually like that, because right now, you know what? Everything is in question. I think that people should question absolutely everything, because they try to control every part of our lives. We could be wrong, but guess what? They have given us enough reason to pause and go, what are you doing?
Question absolutely everything.
Yeah, it's just gone too far, and enough of us, I think, are aware of it.
And if you considered this game like a tug of war, a push-pull, you know, the push and pull of tug of war, you make some ground and you pull, and then the other team pulls, and then you go forward and you lose some ground. But it's the exact opposite. So it's like 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And when we understand that it's not going to be a linear process of what we're going through, even in the last number of years, but especially in the next little while we get into the thick and the heart of all of this, that we're going to be taken off our game. And when we are getting pulled backward, it's okay to stop and look. And as you just said, Betty, I agree. Issues are going to come up for a lot of people. Keeping in mind that everybody is at their own space or their own point of progress, whatever that means. And there's no one way fits all. So some people might be progressing more physically right now. Some might be doing it more spiritually, some more mentally, some more emotionally. There are all kinds of ways to move forward, but you've got to feel it in your body. Is it moving forward for you, or is it pulling you backward? And a lot of people this week have talked to me, and including myself, extreme anger that has come up to the point where volatile. I was volatile. And I'm like, what is going on? Why am I so angry, right? It's not just us. We talked about this, right? So this is part of why we're discussing this. I bet you there's probably 8-10 people I've spoken to who just said, I'm just losing it this week.
Yeah.
So then you realize this could be somebody else trying to not only manipulate the weather, but manipulate our emotions through whatever electronics, AI, whether it's something in the atmosphere, whether it's the planets that are starting to getting a little ruckus going out there in the galaxy. We don't know where it's coming from, but we still have to discern whether it's ours or not, and we have to take responsibility for our reaction to it.
I'm going to say, I think this is part of, I know you want to touch on the planets and stuff, but I actually believe, and it came up in my cards when I told you I did a reading, where it's coming from. Guess where it's coming from? Mother Earth. This is coming from the Empress. It's coming from above. I truly believe this is my opinion only. Take it or leave it. I don't care. I mean them.
We'd love to hear it.
You can do, Sandy, because I can be wrong, but
you're not wrong already.
Shining a light, and because we are moving dimensions, right? Our bodies need to change. I mean, I think a lot of people too have been saying, like, you're feeling different things, and I've talked about
eyesight's
hot,
affected,
cold, aches in weird places, and it's like, where the heck is this coming from? But it doesn't feel bad. It's just like, but things are weird.
Runny noses, headaches, vision issues, right?
Yeah,
a lot of things are changing, but Gaia is changing. Mother Earth, she's changing her frequency.
Yeah, and
Hi, J. Ross.
That, good morning. I think that. Well, I don't. Well, this is what came up in the cards. That this is by divine design to get us to confront the issues at hand. So if it's ours, and you and I talked about it, I had, this rage. This weekend, I just went off, and yes, I'm not perfect, and I'm not always sunshine and light,
but mostly you are.
But I can be
triggered.
And I was like, what was it? And I actually went back and went, okay, what the hell is going on with me? And I realized it was something with me, and it was about holding on too tight. And I had to surrender a bunch of things and just people are going to do whatever they're going to do.
Yes.
I cannot control them regardless of how close they are to me. And even though I thought I had let it go, I hadn't. And so it had to smack me upside the head and go, look at what an ass you made of yourself.
You know what? And I'm gonna put it out there that you have let a lot go, but maybe there was 1 or 2 more cords there that you didn't realize were hidden. So instead of saying what an ass you made of yourself, something had to come out. Well, we're not alone. You're not alone. I'm not alone. There's things I will apologize for. There's things I will not apologize for. There's things that had to come to light, and I had to realize and see myself while I was angry and what words I was putting into the field.
Yes.
So I didn't do anything insanely bad, and I didn't cause any suffering, but I realized as feminine energy, we can create, we can destroy. And as I'm talking about something, I'm realizing, okay, I'm putting a lot of anger energy out there that really wasn't asked for.
Yep.
Doesn't mean I was wrong to be angry. Exactly. It means I wasn't handling it appropriately. Right.
And that's what I found too. I just wasn't, but it was my stuff. I just still had stuff.
Right, but it doesn't mean you don't say you made an ass yourself. You don't say that. You say, hey, it came up. You don't say anything negative about yourself. This is for everyone. We're all learning. We're going through things. There's so many energies that are coming alive in ourselves, on Mother Earth. So the Schumann resonance is increasing, but she doesn't increase and say, okay, I'm going to take it from 7.83 and I'm going to step you up to 10 and I'm going to step you up to 15 and then I'm going to step you up to 20. She's going from 7.83 and then she decides to spike to 50. You're wondering, well, where is all this coming from? And then she might go back down and temper a little bit. And then she spikes again. And maybe the next time it's the 30. She spikes up to 30 and then drops back down. And other times they're saying she's spiking up to 90 and 100. So do you know when, so think of the birthing process. Think of the contractions that come. Yep. And then you get a contraction and then you push a little further and you move yourself along. We're rebirthing ourselves on this planet, with this planet, in this galaxy, in this universe, in the cosmos. We're uniting and bringing everything together. But it's like coming through, think if you're coming through the birth canal and you come out, and even though your little body couldn't comprehend in your mind, but you're going, what the frick is going on here? I'm here. Do you know what I mean? So this is what we're going through.
Who are all these people?
So this is what we're going through. We're birthing ourselves. So we're going to make mistakes. And if we owe apologies, apologize. And if we don't apologize, if we don't feel we needed to apologize, then don't apologize. But own it if you've made a mistake or you've said something you wish you hadn't said, right? Yeah, Teresa, the full moon can make you angry, but the full moon can do a lot of things. So the full moon came after my outburst, like after I was angry. That came a couple days later. But when I was sleeping, I have a sun, the windows is southern exposure, and they're for the 2 days before the full moon. So that includes the eclipse. I'm waking up at 2, 3, 4, and I'm watching the moon come through the window. And I felt incredible peace with this moon. There's moons, I have to sleep downstairs on the couch with the blinds and the curtains closed because I can't have that energy touch me. I haven't figured out the rhyme or reason. It's not just that I'm in a bad mood. I'm just like, this one feels like there's an agenda.
Yeah.
So we have to trust ourselves, and whatever that means that we need, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But we have to trust ourselves that we're reading what's going on. If it says we need to step back, right? Step back. So the 2 steps forward, a lot of people think you got to go back and clean out all your past before you can move forward. And I'm sorry, that has never been my experience. And I don't see it that way. You move forward and then you encounter something on your path. And if it means you have to go back and revisit it to release it, then you do that. Then you start moving forward on your path again. Yeah. But when you look at the road to truth or the road to where you're to be to find your destination, there's 2 roads. You're coming to a fork in the road. One fork is called bad choices, and one fork is called good choices. And if you don't clean that stuff up, you're going to go down the road of bad choices because your ego or different influences, somebody else's opinion, you think somebody else has a better idea, so you follow their lead instead of your own. You get partway down the road and you realize, I got to back up and go back to that fork, figure out why I chose the wrong fork, and then make the right choice. And maybe it's a road that it's a cross section and there's 3 choices. It doesn't just mean there's a fork. So you could have wrong choices, right choices, and best choices. Like, who knows what you call your roads? So it's really important that we understand that, right? So these issues that are going to come up, some will be physical, some will be mental, some will be emotional, and some are going to be structural, some are going to be societal, some are going to be institutional. Because issues are coming up doesn't mean it's our issues. No. So you might have gone and cleaned out your beliefs. You understand what you think the system is all about. Now they've got to go through their own shit show as the truth becomes aware within their structure, which involves a lot of people. Then they have their collective reaction that if you're empathic, you might pick up on some of that instead of saying boundaries.
No, but I like what you said at the beginning of this, where, you can't clear it all out before to move forward. You clear as you go, because each step reveals more, because you're not ready. Even your body isn't ready to release everything at once, right?
It can't
to the system. So it's like an onion. You're just peeling back the layers that allow you to move to the next level.
Totally.
And then you peel back, once you get there and you're comfortable, and because it's going to be a little unstable, and like, I'm still figuring this new thing out. And then shit comes back at you and you go, oh God, I still have stuff. Okay, we get rid of that. And then we get to, that actually helps you propel you to the next level, and you get comfortable there. And then again, stuff is going to hit you in the face and go, okay, here we go again.
And I'm not promoting Betty and I, like, there's many energy workers out here, but this is what we do with people. They want to deal with things, and sometimes they don't want that first layer to come off, and they will buck and they will hold on to their stuff. We don't care. It's your money. Spend it how you want, right? But you want to work with somebody who's willing to sit there and say, this is uncomfortable. We know, we've been through this. We've done it to ourselves. There's times where I'm saying, I'm out of here. I'm not dealing with this. And I'm ready to bolt. And the person I'm working with is sit there, Sandy, stay with it, stay with it, stay with it. And I did. And once I cleared it, it was like, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So because we're so, some people have gone through so many things, or they're so energy sensitive that something that may be a big issue to you at this time, once you clear it, you realize that wasn't as big as I thought it was going to be. But you want to work with somebody who can hold the space with you, who can look in your eyes and watch you, whether in person or on screen, and see when you've had enough and they need to back you out a little bit to make your psyche feel safe, your emotions feel safe. And then you look at it, put more positive energy in and say, we don't have to deal with this today. If somebody's having an adverse reaction to what they're figuring out, use your own discernment and say, okay, I've had enough. I know I'm terrified of this. I also decide not to deal with this today. Doesn't mean I'll never deal with it. I'm going to put it on a shelf for now and come back. And it's like a trigger. You know, sometimes you trigger and you go, I haven't got time for this. Put it on a shelf. It's not going to forget where you are. It owns you right now. But you can decide, I'm not dealing with you right now, and then come back and revisit it when the time comes.
Yep. And you know, it's good not to leave it forever, because it does keep rearing its ugly head. It'll keep knocking on that door.
Right, but there's a time. So this is all about taking your power back. So you decide when you deal with it. I'm not saying sweep your triggers under the rug. They will come up, and they will come up in multiple ways. But a trigger is just an entity, an energy force that has entered into your psyche or your body. And often when you cast out the darkness, you tell a trigger to get lost. It has no choice but to go, because all the darkness has to take our commands. That's why demons don't leave on their own. They have to be cast out. So if you look at a trigger as an entity, a mild form of demon or whatever, you still have to take charge of your psyche, your mind, your emotions, your spiritual growth, all your energetic influences, and take charge of it, but have the conviction and the power within yourself to know you are ultimately in charge.
I don't always think that they're dark energies that are the triggers, because if we've got stuff we have to deal with, it could be coming from the light going, hey, we want you to move forward. So
that's not a trigger though. That's a aha. So I've had people asking me, this is coming up, is this darkness doing this to me? And I said, no, I think it's light saying, okay, you've made a statement that you're going to start doing certain things, and now it's going to test you to see if you really mean it, if you need to clean out one more area. But the person will recognize it, but that's not the same as a trigger that puts you in bed for 2 days because you can't get out. So there's different levels of these. So there's ahas, and there's tests that light will give us that some people think is darkness, but it's not. Yeah. It's a test to say, let's see if you mean it.
Same terminology, because a trigger, you know, it's triggering you to do something. But yeah, I think, but it's being cognizant of where, you know, and ask, where's it coming from? If it's coming from the dark, I don't want it. If it's coming from the light, okay, we got to deal with it.
Right. And sometimes it's coming from the dark and you have to deal with it.
Yes. Yeah. Fair enough. But
there's a whole range of what a trigger is. And you're right about what you're saying. Different people use terminology to represent different experiences. So put it on the scale of a range. There's no right or wrong, but just trust yourself. If something is coming up and you don't want to deal with it right now, then find somebody who can hold space with you and can maybe articulate if all these things come up, and can read the energy and say, I don't think that's quite what's going on here.
But I think we're seeing right now, during this time, this whole, like, I think it's like a week of this eclipse, the energies have been like really shaking people up. So this isn't just like the one time we get, you know, poked by the bear. I think collectively we're getting poked by the bear to go, hey, time to clean up some of this stuff.
Totally it is, right? And this is what's going on. So for J. Ross, so you're feeling tested right now and trying to stay calm. Maybe it doesn't mean you have to stay calm, but you have to go in and examine what is testing you right now. And as Betty said, is it good? Is it here for your best interest? Is it here for creator's best interest? Is it here for love and above, or not?
And if it can't teach you something, is it teaching you something? Is it showing you something about yourself? Sometimes there's a lesson in those emotions.
So sometimes, okay, so, and maybe we're picking up on different things, but maybe you're being tested and you've got a hitchhiker or something in your energy field that may be yours. It could be in the earth energies, it could be in the ley lines, it could be in the electricity in your home, but you have to go in and find out what it is. So it's, for me, it always comes back to learning and learning about how your body works and how it reacts to what your environment is. Is this in your best interest? Portals can open up at any time. At one point, I would walk through the area between my kitchen and my living area. It's like an open concept, and it would be ice cold. Well, by the third time, I should have maybe picked up on it sooner, but on the third time, I'm like, is there a portal here? Sure enough. So something had come in, but maybe it had come in because I'd had a thought a couple days earlier that was, I was pissed off about something, and it was there was an energy there waiting to open up. So we have to discern everything that's going on. So it doesn't mean you have to stay calm, but we have to learn how to breathe and stay in our 0 point energy and start asking the questions. Why am I angry right now? Is somebody pushing my buttons? Am I allowing somebody to push my buttons? Is there a pattern here I can't see? Is there people 2 or 3 layers back who are manipulating people around me? Is there an unseen energy? Am I just not mature enough to be able to cope with what is happening and have created bad patterns? The answer is irrelevant. What is relevant is you look for the answer and find out more about yourself, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Jay Ross, teaching you, you're too nice. You guys really need to get your shit together and stop being nice.
I love that you said that, though, because guess what came up? It was the King of Wands as well as the Knight of Wands. And the King actually, you know, he's all about like loyalty and whatever, but it's a lot about stepping into your power.
So loyalty to yourself.
Yes. And stepping into your power. And that is actually not letting people walk all over you and being too nice. Hey, Jay Ross, I've been there, done that. Doesn't work.
A lot of us are talking.
Not everybody has been there.
A lot of us are talking about this, though, that you've so one of the lies is service to others. Yes, we are here to help humanity. But what we can't, when we're doing this, we're helping humanity. You help humanity by being the best you can be and leading by example and calling in your strengths and calling in your powers and calling in your right not to be manipulated. Because as more and more people are starting to go through the process of awakening and moving into a higher reality, there's people coming in to fill the void that you left behind, to drag you down, because that's all they know, without it being personal. That's all they know. Oh, so-and-so's looking weak right now. Oh, they lost a parent. Maybe I should step in and help and see what I can get, right?
Right.
So
and
James says he can't log in, but he's here.
It's also one of the programs we're taught as children, right? To be nice and to be accommodating. And, you know, maybe not everybody, but it is a very common program that we run. You know, you don't want to step on toes. You don't want to rock the boat. I mean, if you knew how many times I've heard that from people, well, you just don't want to rock the boat. Well, who's going to, you know?
It's conformity. It's a conformity program. Being nice is not a personality trait. We're led to believe that, oh, we must all be tolerant. And usually when the education system and certain ministers and politics come out and start telling us, oh, we all need to be tolerant of all these different types of people who are emerging. And maybe we're going to have 7-toed people come out next. And we're going to have to all be tolerant. And usually when somebody wants you to be tolerant, it means you're about to take it up the ass, and they want you to be not so alert that you don't retaliate against them. So that's what it's about. They know what they're doing.
I've always hated that word because Canadians are supposedly so tolerant. And I'm like, so we put up with a lot of shit. That's basically
what it means.
Because tolerance is not acceptance. And there's a very big difference to be accepting and tolerant. So we're just going to put up with it until the dam breaks, because guess what? The dam will break eventually, and then you blow up. So instead of being tolerant, we need to speak our truth. Like the King says, right?
And
discern and speak our truth. And if it doesn't feel right, we're not going to put up with it.
Right. But it doesn't mean we have to get angry and fight. It just means we stand in our knowing of what is right and wrong and changes for that psychic energy, right? Absolutely. But that's one thing that's happening. A lot of people are coming to terms with standing up, but you might not be getting the standing up for yourself and claiming back your right to be happy, your right for liberty, your right for freedom, your right to enjoy life and experience life the way that you're meant to do it here. They might still be experiencing resistance in their personal families or friends or workplace environment. So that's okay to reach out as you are here and talking to Betty and I and understanding that we support what you're going through. We understand it. We've gone through a lot of this, and we're not saying we have the be all end all answers for everybody, but know that you're on the right path. So look for groups of people who will support you as you're going through these changes. And maybe you have to go back to work and you have to be in normie for your next 4-hour, 8-hour shift. You can get through any 4 or 8-hour period in your life. I know one woman at work, they're really pestering her. They know her views about certain things. So they're pestering her about, did you get the jab? She looks them right in the eye and goes, of course. Why does it matter? Do you owe them an explanation?
Nope.
Can you imagine if there's a meme going around? Okay, I was telling somebody about this. There was a meme going around. Did you get the jab? Do you like anal sex? Was the response. I can't believe you're going there. Why not? You don't mind bending over for government. So I've just thought this is an appropriate question. Why are you asking me about something when you have all of a sudden got boundaries that you don't want people to transgress, but you can cross into other people's boundaries? And this is all what this is about. It's going to be think of it as two cells that are up against each other. And one cell's a bully and wants its own way, and it wants to push the other cell around. It's the other cell's job to come back and say, I am solid in my foundation, in my periphery. I'm solid internally. I can hold my space. Go find somebody else to push around without going into the drama of it, right?
And I think, as I've, and then maybe I'm just speaking for me, but when you have, put up and shut up for a long time, it does tend to come out in anger because you have like all this stuff and rage comes out, all pent up. And that's when you really start to release, then you can actually, that's why when I had my blow up this weekend, I was like, what? You know what? Don't always, that's not it doesn't happen like that anymore. I was like, this is old stuff.
So let it surface let it surface and trust you're in good company. If it happens, that there's not going to be judgment. There's going to be curiosity. What was that all about? Yeah. And when you explain, I had to clear this up. And this is an interesting point when, if you're explaining your behavior and you say, I realize this about myself, then that person is not going to be defensive because you're not saying you triggered me by this, right? So when John is saying that he confuses his tendency to disassociate, disappear with being tolerant, and what that is you're putting up with other people because for some reason they maybe have a need to control you, is what I'm guessing, or you don't want to offend them. It doesn't matter what the reason is, but you're recognizing it in the pattern that you're giving up yourself so that somebody else can. I don't want to say has the stage because I don't necessarily agree with that, but a lot of people are doing this. They're letting other people, they don't want to rock the boat, so they let their boss pretend they're superior. They let the people in the family, if there's certain family members who want their way, it's easier to get along and go along than fight about it. And sometimes you fight, sometimes you walk away, sometimes you take a breather, sometimes you set a boundary and say, let me think about this. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that, and start setting passive boundaries so that they know slowly you're not taking it. And then if it's a person who's pushing your boundaries, then you get to see their pattern. So you flip it around, instead of them observing you, you observe them observing you. And see what your weakness is. Darkness always goes to your weak point. If you've got a bleeding heart, it's a weakness. And some people will disagree with that. I don't care. Do what you want. Do what you want with it. Be a doormat. I don't care. But if you're a bleeding heart, then there's people out there who look at kindness and compassion as weakness. And it's not. It's just they are going to take advantage of it because they're going to view you as weak. So they are the observer. They're managing the quantum field, waiting for a chance to pounce on you, but you're not even looking for it. It's like the gazelle that goes to the side of the river with crocodiles in it and doesn't think there's crocodiles in it. Hello. Somebody's got to be the first to get eaten, right? So the rest of them wake up. So this is what we're doing. And we're doing it without superior beliefs about ourselves. We're not doing it out of ego. We're not doing it out of thinking that we're right and somebody else is wrong. No, you have the right to live in your sovereignty. We have the right to live in ours. We have the right to make ourselves happy. And what we are doing by doing that, I'm not saying we're the nobodies. We're everybody. We're nobody. We're all and nothing in between. But when we collectively all start stepping up this energy, we are shifting the collective, because the power brokers are not having the support of the frontline workers who go along to get along for a paycheck. They're not having the support of the superiors if the frontline workers aren't going along to get along anymore. So the whole thing is going to crumble. So when you look at this is funny that you're working with cards. Think of a house of cards. So what we're seeing in society, we're seeing the basement and the foundation crumble, and we've got the roof taken off. So now we need the rest of the structure to fall so that we can come out and stand in our own power, right? When you look at, we've talked about this on many occasions, if you go to a professional, an expert, and ask their opinion, if you give your power away, they can give you whatever, they can give you the problem that they think you should have. So if they think you've got OCD, or you've got ADHD, or you've got bipolar, or you've got whatever it is, they can put that on you. And speaking of bipolar, a lot of people right now are feeling bipolar. They're feeling great one day, and then they're a mess the next. And then 2 days later, they're feeling good again. You're not bipolar. You're going through ascension symptoms.
Yes.
We're going through the changing energies and the weird energies that are coming in. Mother Earth is giving birth to a new reality, and we are all the little, just look at us as a bunch of kittens. We don't know what's coming out first, which one's coming out first, which one's coming out in the middle, which one's coming out end. We don't know where our head's up against another kitten's ass, or we've got one of their feet up against our face. We don't know, or whether we're doing it, but we're all coming through this process when we choose to. That's the analogy that I'm thinking of.
You know, it's funny because it's all like lining up with, because these were the next two. So we're planting the seeds right now, and we're getting our harvest to conquer all of the things that are sabotaging us, all of the negative. We are actually working towards
getting rid of the ego and the old structures.
All of that stuff that is blocking us from that ascension process. And that's what these, because when I did the cards today, before we came on, earlier downstairs with maybe my fourth coffee, because I've been up since 4 o'clock this morning. I was like, let's do a card reading for, this conversation and let's get something around it. So it was actually really good. And before we go on, I think, let me just, because I have them here. In the next two, right next, flanking that devil here is
the one.
It's the stars. That's the healing energy. We've got the 8 of Cups. We're actually, we've got a new horizon. We're moving forward. As we get rid of everything that we're self-sabotaging, we get to move forward. We've got a new horizon, a new path we can follow. And then she comes right behind that with this is, the star is a lot of healing, intuitive energy coming in and soothing all of that stuff. We just
and claiming your sovereignty. You're the star in your own life.
Yeah. I mean, how beautiful was that?
Yes.
I know. And just to finish it up, we also got the Queen of Pentacles and the World. And really, I want to focus on the World because as we go through this, we're ending the cycle, right? The World is the beginning and the end and the beginning, right?
And the Fool's the beginning, yeah.
Yeah. And so we're coming to the end of this cycle.
Yes.
And that's why all of this stuff is coming out, because then we can actually work towards releasing it. So not only are we ready for what's coming on a spiritual level, but also on a physical level with the ascension symptoms, because our bodies are changing.
Totally. And this is a great segue into coping strategies and how we're handling this, because as we're seeing, some of us exploded this weekend, some of us did different things. We turned to different things to whether it's food or not. Today I went out and bought potatoes, and I'm like, why am I buying potatoes? And I'm like, I'm going to need to ground in the next week or two and drop my energy, and just that maybe I'll eat mashed potatoes for 2 days. You know what I mean? Like I'm sitting here thinking, so I look at it and it's like, am I sabotaging myself with potatoes? Yeah, there's sugar in it and there's carbs, but it's also in the earth. It's a plant that comes from the earth that can help me ground. So we look at the coping strategies that we have, and there's positive and negative coping strategies. And Betty and I talk a lot about these. So I'm going to go through and talk about a few of the positive, and Betty's going to talk. Betty knows this too. So if you want to make a list of coping strategies of things that you like to do when you know you're upset, if you need to, put a list on your fridge. You don't. It's not that you have to keep all this going in your mind. Put a list somewhere. Tape it to your bathroom mirror, so when all of a sudden you're going through a funk, you can say, what do I need to do? What brought me back to this was this week. Betty was talking about what she went through, and she goes, I'm going to go paint. I got to go do some art. You knew intuitively to go and do something creative. Yeah. Which is really important that we talk about this. And even you have Wednesday interviews now with Patty Chapman, who does art. She does phenomenal creations of portals and different drawings, right? So why we're saying this is we want to remind people, you already know what to do. We're just giving you examples. One, go for a walk in nature. A lot of people have talked about laying down in the backyard. I've heard this from a few people now. They've laid down in the backyard and just felt Mother Earth energy align within their spine, within their body. So that few people have done this with dogs, so it's kind of interesting. Sit under a tree if you need to. Put your back to a tree and read a book. If you've got a place where you've got in your yard that you can do that, it's okay if you put a small blanket down or whatever, but just connect. Take your shoes off. Take your socks off. What is the earth telling you? Call a friend. Sometimes we just need somebody to say, you got 30 seconds. I just need to do a verbal diarrhea rant, get it out of my system, whatever. And that hopefully your friend will say yes if they can, and no if they can't handle it. I can't do this with you right now. Like, find somebody else, right? So another one, ask for your partner or somebody in your family for a hug or more emotional support. And that can sound like, I'm going through some really crazy stuff right now. I could really use a hug. So all it has to be, it doesn't have to be that you're blaming them for not being there. Just, can I have a hug? You don't want words. Maybe that's all you need, right? Turn to your hobbies. If you don't have hobbies, make a list of things you like to do. Even if you had them in childhood, what did you like to do? And see if you can bring that art back to life. Work on a creative project, do yoga, some gardening because your hands are in dirt. Commune with nature, work out. Sometimes our pent up energy is because we're not working out. We're not getting the cardio out of our system. Go find a hiking trail if you don't have the exercise equipment that has a lot of inclines. Make sure you've got some good shoes, running shoes. Go with a sense of humor and start hiking. Like, there's some trails where I go down, I have to hang on to the trees while I go down the path. Otherwise I'll get too much momentum going. I'll tell you, when I've done that hour and 15-minute hike, I'm zen. Right? So get this pent out energy up. So just a few other ones. Work out, clean your house. If you've got dirt in your house or dust, dark energies collect to that, and it's interfering with the flow. And I know people think that that maybe isn't true. It is 100% true. Dark energies attached to dust bunnies. Dark energies will attach to cobwebs. I have a statue on my front door, and in the summertime, I spray her up with urethane, and I put her out and back on the deck. She's part of my gardening setup in the summer. But I look behind, and there's cobwebs. I had to go and clean them all out. There wasn't a lot. It doesn't matter. But I had to sweep that out because that is going to attract dark energies. Play sports, read, write, enjoy music, especially the Fraseggio notes. Connect with your pet if you have one, or somebody else's pet. Offer to pet sit for an hour or a day or a weekend so you can get the love of a pet. Do art of any type. Think back on fond memories, or start journaling, or just some of the suggestions for the positive. Betty, you've got a lot of positive suggestions there too.
Wow, you covered so many. I mean, the only thing I know for me, a lot of time I need to do some alone time after to reflect on what's going on. And, when I realized what was going on, I went in the grass. I lay down by chance, actually, because I got down on my knees to play with the pup. And I was like, you know what? This feels good. I think I need something. Down and had an amazing meditation and just cleared out and let it go, and just feeling the support of the earth underneath you.
Yeah.
It felt incredible. I don't know, but I was picking crap out of my hair for a long time, but it was totally worth
connecting. And you're not the only person. I've had other people say that's what they did this week with their dog. Yeah. And it was like, and other people said they went out to a park where they were out near Lake Ontario, and they took their socks and shoes off and felt the earth, sat there and just felt the earth. So we are connecting. Mother Earth is changing. As you're connecting, ask, what do I need to know? Tell me how I can prepare to help you ascend. Be an advocate and a, what do you call that? Like a supporter of Mother Earth. What do you need? Be her friend. How can I help you right now? What do you need to know? I know I've talked with different people that I've done interviews with where I'll be out in the bush and one tree will call me, and I go and I put my hand on the tree and I use my peripheral vision and I say, what do I need to know? And that day I could see plasma shooting by my face. And I'm like, can we see plasma? But because they've screwed up our eyes with the way we're born and treated on this planet, and what we're meant to focus on is, can we see plasma? But we're led to believe we can't.
Yep.
So much is possible with this, right?
I love it. Alma, it was like colored jigsaw puzzles. I love jigsaws since I was a kid too.
Totally.
Anything that puts you in the zone and takes you out of that situation. So it takes you out for a little bit, because then you can actually go back and think about it objectively instead of in the heat of the moment.
Get rid of your monkey mind. That's what the art does. It helps you get rid of your monkey mind and your looping. I tell people to count sometimes. That's how you get yourself out of a loop in a pinch. But it's not going to bring out your creative side. It's just going to stop your monkey mind.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a great one too, right?
And Patty's with us. Hi, Patty.
Yes, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else are we So there's negative coping mechanisms, picking a fight with somebody so that you can get your emotions exercised. And I'm not saying this isn't happening, but sometimes people go out and pick a fight with somebody so that you can have an argument with them, so they can sit here and make you the asshole and they feel better, or just to get it off their chest. And meanwhile, you're left reeling. Obviously, we're talking a dysfunctional relationship if this is happening, but maybe it's an employer who's saying, you're not doing that right, or giving all the employees a hard time, instead of saying, you guys are doing an amazing job, or somebody who's pointing out everything that's wrong, and then you start vibrating. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. If all you've got to be doing is pointing out everything that's wrong or trying to create the negative vibe, I'm not saying you're not going to go there. If you go there because that's how you fix yourself to make other people feel crappy, you got to catch yourself doing it.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a big one, right?
And when people and the reverse there, when people do that to you, realizing that it has nothing to do with you,
it may have something to do with you if you are part of the pattern. So think of a dysfunctional person. One person can't clap by themselves. They need that second person. But it's knowing that when this person wants to clap and you know it's a dysfunctional applause, that you pull away and you leave them to do their own.
Well, so and that's where I was getting to. It's their shit that they're spewing on you. And when you stop taking it as, oh, I must have done something, and you no longer engage in it, you can actually see maybe those triggers. So it may not be you being the one spewing, though you're like going through all these weird energies too, but you'll see other people dumping on you, and you just go, that's not my shit.
So let's go further with that, because sometimes people add to the problem. They'll antagonize and say, well, if you want to talk about this, let's talk about this. No. Somebody's giving you a hard time about not wearing a mask and yelling at you, telling you to wear a mask. Well, let's talk about this like adults. No, I don't answer to you. So you have to make sure that you're not engaging with somebody else's dysfunction by trying to be the voice of reason when there is no reason. That might be your pattern. Then you're engaging in it and you're keeping that dance alive. So it's really important that you look. So how would we say that, Betty? Like, look at how you behave. Look at how the person around you behave. Look how you react. So look at the situation for the first person who speaks, the response, and the counter response and counter response. So you might be feeding that pattern inadvertently. And the example I'm going to use is domestic violence. And as much as this sounds awful, and I'm not going into domestic violence, I know this to be true. Some people don't know how to get love, so they will antagonize their partner until the partner hurts them, and then they get to have makeup sex and kiss and hug and go into the honeymoon phase until the next time she wants or he wants attention. So dysfunctional patterns aren't just one person. It can be a whole group of people. And I'm not saying it's always like that, but look at all the possibilities. None of us come from the same past. We don't have the same past lives. There's a lot of things that we don't have in common. We have our heart in common, our consciousness, but look at the whole situation. Is somebody else feeding that situation? You gotta look and see, how are you feeding it? By taking people's crap.
And you know, in those that situation, many others, we attract what we want too, because you attract your same vibration. And that's why a lot of us are losing a lot of connections right now, because we're starting to vibrate at a higher level and they're not changing with us. And therefore you're feeling that rift. And a lot of that is really painful.
Yes.
So much so. And I think Patty and I are going to be touching that on, that's going to be our discussion on Wednesday, if she confirms that's the discussion, because she sent me something great. But, you know, those are also triggers, is as we are growing, because I'm going to assume everybody on here, we're all growing.
Yes, I get that impression.
Tribe, we're growing. We're all moving towards that. We want to get there, right? And looking for strategies and ways, and hearing that. Guess what? All of us go through this.
Yes.
No one is exempt.
Exactly.
No one is exempt. No one is better or worse off. We're all on this journey, and I don't mean everyone in the world, but those of us who are choosing this journey, we're doing this together and working together and doing, you know, Sandy and I creating this content, and I'm sure you watch other people, and maybe some of you have your own content, which I'd be interested in if you post it. I will check you out.
Definitely.
Because everybody has value.
Totally. This is the new change. We all are rising together.
We're rising together in our family. How many times have
In
I
our
said this? We're
unique
finding our
way.
soul tribe, because as we leave those who don't, they're choosing not to awaken. It is a choice, and we have to accept it. Right.
And when I'm saying, when I'm putting different scenarios out here, the only point I'm trying to make, don't assume it's one or the other, that, oh, you're not awake and I am. It's not as cut and dry as that. You have to look at, is there a dance that you're feeding somebody's ego because you really want to convince them that you're right? And sometimes when you come from a position of trying to convince somebody else, you've weakened yourself. All I'm asking is that no matter what's happening, look at the situation you're in. It could be you and one other person. It could be a dance back and forth, a dance of dysfunction, keeping in mind where you want to go, but look all around you. If you're changing and the people around you aren't, you are going to, as Betty just said, you are going to have a rift. And it's hard if it's a personal relationship, especially a partner or family, like children. Yeah. It's hard. And we recognize that, but we still have to decide if we're moving forward or staying in that. And if we are in, and if we are in the situation where we choose to stay in dysfunction, it's not going to get any better. It's just going to blow up, and you're going to be on the same path anyway. So sooner or later, you can't pretend you don't know what you know. I've tried. You try to go along, right? And it's like,
and I think that I mean, how many times have we heard Juan and other people? It's like, this is the time in history where you have to pick a side. There's no more sitting on the fence. And as we go through this, I mean, I still see people sitting on the fence, but you sit on the fence. You basically decided the other side.
Yes.
Right, because on this side you have to go heart full in, because it's not easy.
It's not. This is a great segue for what is going to be coming up in all of our lives. And this is not an easy thing to hear, but because it's not easy doesn't mean it has to be bad. So take a deep breath into your abdomen. Post-traumatic stress disorder, in my opinion, is a natural reaction to pain and suffering. They call it mentally ill, that you can't cope, that you can't handle life. I don't agree. I think that's the heartlessness of the mental health industry. It's about pain and suffering. And what we're clearing out, a lot of the past pain that we're clearing out, is post-traumatic stress. And we're going to experience it when we're watching what's going on now, regardless of where you are with the protocols that are being presented, rammed down your throat, whatever you call it. You are being traumatized again, because it's like somebody's trying to tell you they got sovereignty over your body. What's the difference of a rapist saying, I own you, I can do this, 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 and this to you? So somewhere in our psyche, we know we're being attacked. We are under attack. So that can create post-traumatic stress disorder. We also are getting it for the future because we know we're in for a rocky ride. So the idea isn't that we pretend it's not hurtful. We understand what it is, but we learn to cope, clean out the past post-traumatic stress disorder, know we're in the throes of it right now, and we know what's coming. So we can get consciously ahead of it by knowing what our coping patterns are going to be and what our go-tos are, so that we might decide we're going to unplug for the day. We're not going to get on our electronics. We're not going to get any artificial information that comes in. We're going to go and spend time with nature. So understanding that post-traumatic stress disorder, it can be in the past, present, and future. I cleaned out a secret space soldier one time, and what came up in his clearing was he was angry. And where we found the anger was in his future, because he knew they were going to put him in play again. So we are going to look at things like we've never looked at them before. But the one thing that comes back is we all come back to our sovereignty, our pillar of power, strengthen it with your vertical channel, with connectors, source, your higher self, that we stay in our sovereignty as we go through this. And we're not saying we're not going to screw up. We're going to screw up. We are going to make mistakes. But if we can get our mistakes down to here instead of out here, or our reactions down to here instead of out to here, and know when to walk away, know when we need to connect, know when we need to hug somebody, know when we need to be in nature, know when we need to go swimming and be in a real body of water, right? All these things are going to make a difference for how we process and progress through this, energies coming through. So I just want to make sure that we understand and manage your higher mind, because when you're managing your higher mind, you can create your own reality and say, we're not going down this road. I don't care what scare tactic you're throwing at us. We're not buying into it, right? And look at what you want to experience.
Funny because you say PTSD, but in the little bit of research I've done, and I haven't done a ton, but I think right from birth, they actually program us with PTSD, because the whole birthing process in the hospital can create PTSD in babies, right? No baby is telling you, because they don't have the verbal, but like the whole.
We know the process is traumatizing.
The process is trauma. We live in a trauma-based world, and they're just layering it, and that's how they've actually also numbed us to it to some degree.
Do you know what's really good about this, though, about the trauma that we've experienced? A lot of people that I've worked with did not know they had been traumatized. They did not understand that they had experienced abuse. So we'll call the trauma of birth abuse, right? They didn't understand. So don't go looking for what traumatized you. You don't need to do that. Go forward in life, and if something comes up, clear it. Because maybe you don't have a memory of the birth trauma, and it's just not in your psyche. It might be in your body, but that might not be your first priority to clear. Maybe your grade 1 teacher said something rude to you and made you feel bad out yourself. So then that was a trauma that came up that made you feel ashamed and afraid to speak forward or move forward. So maybe that's the first trauma. Ask yourself your priorities. Some things maybe never come up for one person, but will be there for another person. So don't go thinking everything in life has been traumatic. Be grateful that you survived this shit show to this point. And hey, nothing's stopping us now. We are really stepping into our power now. Like nothing. That was just a warm up. But it doesn't, when you can go and realize that things have happened to you aren't who you are, you can have the memory of the event, but you're not living the pain in your body that's bringing on the feelings that you've been traumatized. So understand, like, there's no right or wrong on how you go through this. You just want to keep moving forward to be the best you can and bring on your higher abilities. So Karen and Dave have joined us. Hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Good to see you guys. So can we talk about, are we going to go into the planets? I don't know if we have time because
you've got 10 minutes left. Why don't you go into the planets really quickly? Because I think that's actually really cool. And
so understand why we're in this.
Actually, before you even start, like, because we just had the 26th moon eclipse, and now we actually have on June 10th a sun eclipse coming, and who was I saying that the sixth sun something other? I think that came with the lunar eclipse, but then the solar eclipse is coming. Lots of great, like, between now and the June is going to be a.
Oh, this is going to be this way for, we're looking to October, November, but I want to explain how the planets are working. So we have 7 main planets. These are the classic planets, which are the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And a lot of the astrology programs run off of these 7 planets, but there's also what they call the modern planets or the unseen planets that don't move quite as fast. They are Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. And what Uranus does, it's rebellion and unconventionality, breaking down old structures, new ways of thinking and acting, innovations and invention, idealism, and progressive thought club society. So we are changing. We are the future we're waiting for, but the old hasn't quite fallen away. So I'm only saying this because when I explain where the planets are going, you're going to understand why we're in the energy we're in. Neptune is mysticism, transcendence, psychic impulses, feeling of sensitivity and empathy, care of the sick, the mentally ill, animals, charities, religious institutions, hospitals, prisons, including of your own making, retreat, artistic inspiration. Then we have Pluto, the transformation and regeneration of a person's life, beginning and ending of phases of life, sex, death, issues of power and control, revealing hidden secrets, big business, police, detective services. So all of these things are coming into play. So when we were a cog in the wheel, but we have the consciousness to change the direction the wheel goes in. When we look at the planets that are in play right now, Mercury is mentality, communication, thought process, teaching, schooling. So Mercury is going into retrograde. If it's not today, it's going in tomorrow. Then we've got Jupiter, personal growth and expansion. Think of the Buddha, aspirations, desire for freedom, sense of justice and morality. So we have all these forces that play in the planetary system. Saturn is personal limitations and structure, sense of responsibility, ambition, career. So we're looking for new careers, not based on the essential worker model for whoever created that. Authority and hierarchy, serious thought, concern for hard realities of life, capacity for hard work, discipline. So we can post some of these if people want to see them too, so that you start to get a sense that this is bigger than us, but it includes us. So when we look at what's going on with planets all have a transit, and they have a period of when they move forward, and they have a period where they cycle back and have to repeat a process. So what that period is called is retrograde. So we have planets in retrograde, we go back and we have to redo it. So when you go backward, normally that's not a time that you progress. And what is happening right now, starting in May, Saturn went into retrograde on May 24th, and Pluto's been in retrograde since April 28th. So all these planets who are here for big change and transformation, they're saying, oh, really? You think you got this figured out? That's not how this is going to work at all. We're in charge. You're just here for the ride, right? So then we look at other planets that are going to come into retrograde. So then we have Jupiter that comes into retrograde on the 21st, 22nd of June, which is the day of the summer equinox. Yeah. So energies are changing. So we came through a lunar eclipse there on Wednesday. Now we're going to go through a solar eclipse on the 11th. And Jupiter goes into retrograde on the 21st with the equinox. So everything is getting shaken up. So then we have Neptune, which is all full of surprises, is also going into retrograde on June 26th. These planets are going to be in retrograde until, sorry, I got to add one more. And then August, Uranus joins into the fun and also goes into retrograde. So these planets are going to be in retrograde. The first one that comes out is Saturn, October 21st. Sorry, Pluto comes out October 10th. Saturn, October 11th, and Jupiter, October 21st, but Uranus and Neptune are going to stay in retrograde. So I don't want to go into too much of the confusion of this, but I want to give you an analogy of what we're going to go through and why we're going through this. Think of the James Bond movies. What do they ask in every James Bond movie? And how would you like your martini, Mr. Bond, shaken or stirred? And the analogy I want to give, you're not getting a choice. You're getting it shaken. And if you don't have the lid on your shaker, you're going to be vomiting your emotional shit everywhere. And this is why we really want to figure this out, that you stay in your center. You're getting shaken. There's nobody's escaping this because it's bigger than all of us. But how lucky are we that we're part of this?
Yes. And we're just getting the taste of it this last week or so with all of this weird energy. And that's why, I think we need to talk about this because it's not going to stop for a while. It is going to keep shaking us and poking us and telling us what we need to clear so we can continue to move forward.
Yes. And we're going to do this. And yes.
It gets you more centered, more in your heart center, and that, your spark will
totally
grow. The more junk you remove, the more air it has. Like any flame needs that air to breathe and grow. And so that we become, like I said the last time, the lighthouse.
Yes.
Right? Each and every one of us here will be the lighthouse.
And we're going to be the power grid. Some will be the lighthouse. Some will be the power grid. Some will hold the center for others to come in. Some will connect to the earth energies and bring things up. So we're not all going to be doing the same things. No. You can be a lighthouse one day and decide you're going to be the energy grid the next day. Like we're all mutable. We can change what we're doing and not feel that we had to have to conform to any one thing. And whatever you're doing today doesn't mean you're going to be doing it a week from now, a month from now, or a year from now. We're going to continue to change, right? So there's some, so just so we can finish up with a few just small ideas, just to keep this in mind as we're growing. Betty and I, and we're not saying we know what we're doing, but we're on this to a certain degree. But there's other people who are figuring this out. And if we all come into this, that we know we've got a place to meet on Fridays, that we can talk about this, that we're going to help. Don't let doubt enter your mind, and don't let fear enter your heart. Those are two of your main centers of capacity for making us human. So don't let those systems be taking over. Energetically, stay open to what is happening around you without getting caught up in it, which we've just explained. Sometimes you do, but then you get out and center yourself again. If you feel tired, ask yourself to take a nap. Remind yourself to take a nap, because we're going to go through, I went through cold symptoms this week, runny nose, my headache. I went through brain fog. I was on with Betty one day, signed up for somebody's YouTube channel, and 2 minutes later said, whose channel is that? And she's like, you just signed up for it. And I'm like, so like total brain farts have been happening for a lot of people, right? And we feel bad about it, but you know what? We're not dumb. It's just maybe we're losing our need to remember everything and going into knowing, and it's part of the process. If anger suddenly overcomes you, ask yourself why. Is this somebody else's to deal with, as we've talked about that? This is all about experiencing your consciousness and expanding your consciousness. And when you expand your consciousness, you ask yourself questions. Why is this happening? How do I feel about this? What do I think about this? Do I need to deal with this now? Do I need to deal with this later? How can I, and ask your source, beloved creator, please help me. How can I best understand what's going on around me at this time? If being of service to others, show them how to shine for yourself. So there's a few things that have come up this week. Work with somebody you trust is a big one, but there's a few things that are coming up right now. If giving yourself to others has become your go-to, and was John Ellis kind of talking about this, to keep them from seeing that you have needs and wants, stop it. Stop denying yourself what you need. You are as entitled to everyone else in the world to enjoy your experiences in life. If somebody in the past has rejected your need for needs, in the past they've programmed you not to have needs, and you've accepted it, stop it. Just stop it. That's going to be our conversation for this
Stop
week.
it.
Just stop it.
Stop it.
Stop putting yourself down. Stop neglecting yourself, right? Go ask for love, ask for interaction, ask for support and protection as you go through this, but be open to getting it in a place that you don't expect. So don't sit here and say, oh, well, I need love and I need ABC to give it to me in this particular way, because you're just controlling all this, right? So life is about a journey. We know that, not a destination. Don't ask to be shown your purpose. Ask how you can contribute. Open up the field, because if they show your purpose and it's not time yet, you're not going to get an answer, but show how you can contribute, because that might help you grow into what your purpose is. Ask how you can contribute to society in a way that delights your mind, body, soul, and enjoy the process that is presented to you. So we can also have fun when we go through this. Every once in a while, somebody hoses us down with a big water gun. You give yourself a shake off and go dry off, and then you come back, right? If you feel that you are not worthy, and you feel you're not deserving of what? It doesn't matter speaking up. It doesn't matter if you're starting an art class or a school for somebody, or you're showing somebody how to maybe holistically look after your pets. If you think you're not worthy of things, just stop it. You are worthy. We're all worthy of this. Because you get your needs and wants met doesn't mean that another will suffer. If that's why you're thinking, oh, if I get my needs met, somebody else is going to go without, that is not how an abundant universe works. So if you've got that in your head, stop it. Don't worry about that. Allow
That's the
others
programming. That's the whole programming. Same with Save Grandma with the
right.
Yeah,
Totally. Save Grandma. We're going to guilt you into staying small.
that's right.
Allow more flow in your life. Allow more love, more happiness, more money. And that's another thing. There's a lot of confusion about what money is, that money's dirty. No, a control system that manipulates money is dirty, but we still need a currency. Ask for more money. Maybe you have big dreams and you want to create a ranch or a healing center. You're going to need money to do it. How do you know where you're going to get it? It doesn't matter, but be open to receiving it. If somebody says, I can help support you this way, but I can't support you in time or with my energy, but I can support you financially. Be open to that this is going to happen. Be open to more choices. Allow for with open arms. Have your arms open to receiving, because that is an energy in itself that shows that you're willing to receive from the universe and others. See the transformation unfold in front of you. You'll still need commitment. Regardless of what we're doing out here, we're going to need strength. We're going to need courage, but it doesn't mean we stop. And one thing that Trump had said that really impressed me when he's talking about what's going on and you're going through a hard time, don't give up, keep going.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep going. And now that we know that the planets are aligned in a certain way, that we can look at it and say, oh my God, this is terrifying. Or we can look at this and say, oh my God, thank God it's not the same old crap that we've dealt with for the last hundreds of years, and be excited about the changes that are coming.
Yes,
that's what I think.
And I actually want to say, you can paraphrase Winston Churchill on when marching through hell. What do? You keep marching.
Keep going.
And you know, I really want. I was saying this to you the other day. Is when we know who we are, because that is the key. We have to know who we are. We need to know our worth and where we come from. We come from the divine. And when you are there, nobody can tell you what to do, and you can continue to march. And even with the boom, in the arm, when you know who you are, it doesn't matter if DJT tells you to go get it. He's not in charge of you either. And that's when you get to stand in your power instead of questioning why. Who cares why? He's not my boss. He's not the boss of me. He doesn't get to tell me how to live my life. If I feel it's not right for me, I'm not going to do it. There's probably an agenda to that. Do I know what it is? No. Do I care? No, because I know me and I know I'm not doing it. And so it doesn't matter anymore. And that's where we need to get. It's like, I don't care who says it. If it doesn't feel right in me, it's not for me.
And they're not elected, they're so-called elected, but there's enough reason to doubt that all the election processes are fake. And they're taking the advice of non-elected officials. So what do we owe them? You owe them nothing. You owe yourself the truth to look after yourself in the best way possible. And understand if something doesn't feel right for you, you have the right to say no. You don't, so because something doesn't, so maybe somebody says, well, I have the right, I feel like going and shooting somebody. You don't have the right to do that because you're harming another. You have the right to say, I have the right not to be shot.
That's
So
right.
it's a different projection of energy, right? Hope and faith.
Absolutely. This is about self-protection and what's right for me. I am not hurting anyone.
Exactly.
If I do not do what they say, except maybe I'll hurt their feelings because they thought they had control over me, but that's not my problem. That's their control issue, not my shtick, right? I am not going out to shoot somebody or stab somebody or,
No, you're not hurting anybody.
I'm actually just taking care of me, because when I take care of me, then I can take care of others. If I do not take care of me, I can take care of no one.
Right. And this is what we have the right to step into, knowing that we have the right to stand in our sovereignty. And a right is something that you have to look after yourself that doesn't come at the cost of another. And this is why they're shaming, trying to say you're going to kill grandma, as you said, because they need to guilt you into doing what they want, right?
Yes.
Hope and faith are needed now more than ever.
Or fear you because you can't shop, you can't travel, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do that. If you don't, so you must. Why? If everybody said no, what are you going to do?
It's not everybody's going to say no.
I know.
And this is.
But enough of us need to, and there's enough energy push in that direction. I think there's something going on.
That's not even the issue. In my mind, that's not even the issue anymore. There's some people are going to stay sheep. Oh, well. So let's look at the movers and shakers. Let's look at the people who want change. Let's look at the people who want to support the people who are making change and saying, I don't feel comfortable speaking out in front of people, but I can give you technical support. I can give you so many hours a week at no charge, and I want to help this way. Some people say, I'm a behind the scenes person. I can help support you, but I really don't want to be front and center. If somebody told me in 2012 I'd be doing this, there's no way. I'm not a front and center person. But over time, you just cultivate it, and then you figure, too bad, you're going to just be front and center if that's what has to happen, because you're not going backward and you can do it, right? So there's going to be all kinds of ways to support. Some people might say, well, I'm going to go and help look after somebody's pets while they're out speaking and doing something else. I'm going to house sit their dogs for them and contribute in a different way. So we're all part of this, and it doesn't matter how. The idea is that you want to be one of the movers and shakers moving it forward. Who gives a shit about the people in the store still wearing the mask? Because if this all changes and we do get a new financial system, and we get rid of the old healthcare, and we get a better healthcare system, and we get the new energy devices, and we get a government structure that cannot be corrupted, and if all this stuff happens, the sheep are going to be the sheep. They're just going to follow along the new way. Nothing is going to change for them. They're just going to follow. So don't focus on them. Let them stay behind. They're going to do whatever they're told to do anyways. They are not going to be the ones who lead us out of this. Let them wear their masks. Let them give you their dirty looks if that's what they do. Move yourself forward into your higher energy. Know that we have got the ability to change this with our heart energy, and stay focused on that. But we do that with hope. We do that by having the faith that things are going to work out. And we're not going through all these political changes. We're not going through all these planetary changes to not get it. And it doesn't mean it's not going to hurt. If it hurts, lick your wounds, come back. 107 just made a comment. I think he was talking to David Rodriguez, and he said, and they asked if Trump was going to get arrested. I don't even know what all that's about. If that's about the, if they're going to impeach you, I don't know what that's all about. But 107 said.
That was a David question. He didn't answer it one way or the other. And I think that's a fear of David's, to be honest, more than anything.
So David needs to work on some things, and I'm not here to judge him. All I want to say is 107. I want to talk about 107. 107 said, whatever's going to happen, we're about to get gut punched. Mm-hmm. So then we can all sit here and think, what's the worst thing that can happen? And I can think of worst case scenarios. And I thought, okay, if JB steps down and KH steps into the White House, that would be a gut punch. Who knows what a gut punch is going to look like? The point is, if we're not prepared, it's going to land on us like post-traumatic stress disorder.
But I wonder, I'm going to be honest, I wonder, is it a gut punch for those that are awake, or is it going to be a gut punch for those that are asleep?
He said all of us, even the truthers. So it's
even the truthers. So it's going to be a shock, but I think it's to wake the last of the sleepers up, or those who are.
Look at how many people got gut punched at the election when it didn't go their way. The truthers got gut punched.
Yes.
So my point is, and some of them gave up totally. My point is, don't let it land on you. Look at it for what it is. Try to keep it in front of you in a vision and assess it as if you're removed from it. Take a day off if you need to. Go and lick your wound. So I think it was, I think it was the election day, November 3rd. I think I put on my Facebook post. Yeah, so we got dropped today. Go take a day, go rest, relax, get away from it all, whatever, just get away from it. And we come back and fight tomorrow. So you take the time away. I wasn't near the electronics. I went out, did a few things, went for a walk, went out and had lunch. I didn't come anywhere near it, but we come back the next day and fight. Go lick your wounds, come back the next day and fight. My point is, if we don't let it land as hard, it's not going to be as much. We're not going to be going through the highs and lows of getting through this emotional trauma. That's going to be presented to us. It's kind of where I'm going. Doesn't matter what's going to happen.
And that's part of what I was talking about. When you know who you are and what you're believing and you're on that path, all that stuff becomes a bit of noise. We do need to know what's going on in the outside world, but we shouldn't take it too hard because we know the outcome. You're marching. You're going to keep marching until we get to the outcome we came here to do.
Yes, right? And we get to decide what that is.
And we get to decide what it is. They do not. They've already had their day. They have had their day in the sun. Done. It's our day. Our day is coming, and that's why we keep marching.
Totally.
Even though Winston Churchill was a complete asshat, we're going to keep marching.
We are totally, and we're nothing stopping what's coming. And it's really important that we have hope and faith and know no matter what happens out of this, we're not giving up. As Trump said, never give up. And we're not giving up. But we also have to do this at every aspect of the societal structure we have. Somebody's going to fall down. Maybe somebody's going to create a curriculum that other different new learning facilities are going to say, I want a copy of that. I want to be able to use that. I want that. I want to teach that. I need more people to teach this one thing. Maybe somebody else is going to come up with a new invention that they didn't send to the patent office that has been stymied. And people are going to say, we want that. You know, so there's no one size fits all, and the possibilities are endless, and we're awakening them.
I know, and we are awakening them, and that's the purpose of it all, right? We've got to awaken all those possibilities, and all the good stuff needs to bubble up to the top, and it's starting to bubble.
It is, yes.
You can feel it start, and that's that push-pull, why things are coming, and the energy is erratic because there is a push-pull. The good is coming up. It's been dormant for a very long time. Mother Earth is waking up, and she
wants us to join her.
Yes.
For the ones who are willing. Yes, I know. Aren't we all? So this is just fantastic, right? Thank you, Patty. This is amazing for all of us to be out here today and talking about this and just helping reinforce. And we've got this if we choose it. I'm not saying it's not going to be up and down, but we've got this if we choose to stand in our power, stand in the center, bring on our abilities as this is happening. A lot of people are talking about blackbirds right now. I'm seeing blackbirds and crows, and I've been seeing them for a number of days. And I'm having somebody told me on Facebook there was one on her deck railing, and it flew off, and then she said it disappeared, so it went into another realm of consciousness.
Wow.
And she goes, I'm really not sure if I'm going to say this. And I put back on her feed that there's many people sharing these kinds of stories with me. More is going to happen than we think just on the physical planet. Like the consciousness fields are going to shift. And the more that we're aware of it, doesn't mean we have to say, I accept everything that we see, but we know that it's okay that we can look at something as it's happening and say, I'm not sure about that. I'm open to it. But I'll decide if I accept that or if I'm going to accept that reality. I'm hearing disclosures coming out through the mainstream media, which means more lies are going to come out. So the normies are going to think, guess what? We found out about the aliens, and it might still be bullshit. It doesn't matter. We don't bog down with the next layer of manipulation. We keep doing our own path and looking for people who are inspired to either find or share what they see as the truth and help us grow individually and collectively. It's kind of what I see.
And actually, a key thing here too is to stay out of the fear that they've been trying to push on us, because they've already got their sheep. They're all in fear, with their diapers on and running into lines to, they're
an ice cream cone.
Right. Okay. Where was I going with this? Oh, you know what? You do see things start to come out for our, this side to create fear. And I just want people to say, see it for what it is and reject it.
Yes. Right? Reject it mentally.
Very quickly. And I've seen stuff and it's like, oh my God. And then literally within hours, I was like, you know what? No, I don't like the way I feel right now. I'm letting it go. That is not my shit.
That's what we're talking about, right?
I push it back because it is not, it's being done on purpose. It's being done on purpose, knowingly or unknowingly by people, but people are being used to frighten this side because they want that fear energy, because that stops us from growing.
Totally.
So be really, really aware, because you're seeing a push on that in many, like the alien invasion is one. It's going to try to scare us. The jab stuff is.
That's why we're having this conversation, though. Post-traumatic stress disorder is what this is going to create in people. Yeah. Understand that you have a beautiful heart, and they want that shaken. They want your foundation shaken. I like how you just said that, Betty. You look at it and then you think a couple hours later, because something lands doesn't mean you have to process it right then and there. You can go, not sure about that. And then an hour later, something just clicks in you and you realize, I think that's just a scare tactic. Like just what you're saying, right? So there's a few things that have come out recently, and I was kind of buying in, and I'm like, I'm not sure what I'm even trying to say, but something's not landing right. And I kept saying, like, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say, but something's not right. And then I start looking at it. I'm going to use an example. Okay, those air purifiers. I went and bought an air purifier. I'm walking, even in where I walk in the woods, because there's people in the woods, and I put it on. And then I'm noticing getting heart palpitations. And then I take it off, and the heart palpitations, they seem to disappear. So I'm not connecting it. I'm wearing it a couple times. And then I had the box and the charger in my car. And then I have my phone in where the charger for this thing is, and the insert came in. So I have it on my coffee table for a couple of days. Does Sandy know to pick up and read the manual? Hell no, that's not my style. So I leave it there until I'm videoed out and there's no other things to read. So I pick up the insert and I start reading it. And it's saying, if you have a pacemaker, don't wear those air purifiers because it'll affect your pacemaker. And I'm like, holy shit. And it showed me the little antenna on the top was the one that was sending out the ions 3 feet. Well, it can go right into my skin. So no wonder I'm getting heart palpitations. It's right in my heart chakra. So I read a little further, and it's saying, don't use it if you have arrhythmia issues, which I don't, but ascension symptoms are affecting our heart chakra. So you might get the feeling that you're having arrhythmia. And then it says, don't use it if you're working near a gas stove. And all I could think of was Richard Pryor. Remember he was freebasing cocaine and blew himself up? Like, don't buy into everything. Read the inserts. Really have a good look at when you're using things.
How much are you going to accept? Because there is misinformation on both sides. And then the amount of stuff that's going on with, I know you're talking about the shedding and stuff, how prevalent is that? I don't know. I haven't seen anybody be affected. I haven't been affected.
It's been on videos, but understand the videos are created for our eyes in the human field to see their creation. So it may be real and it may not be real.
Exactly.
If they can jump 3 feet, why can't, if your neighbors anywhere in your community has been jabbed and these things can jump, why can't they jump on you?
And the wind has been blowing. Why wouldn't it blow right over?
Start asking questions, right? And I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Ask questions. But all I know is I'm using that purifier, getting heart palpitations, getting brain fog, which I don't think had anything to do with that. But then I'm realizing, and I read the bit about the gas stove, and all I could think of was Richard Pryor, rebase. Boom.
No, it's we just can't fall into the fear. And
and we're not saying it's not true. We're saying that we have to stay open to everything. Just stay
and
open
don't
to
let
everything.
it rule your life and fear. Again, just know who you are, what do you believe in, and you're moving forward. And don't let other people take you off track going, oh, hey, look at this. This should scare the shit out of you.
I'm getting a lot of that right now. People trying to scare me. And I'm like, I don't want to go here. I've seen enough. I know enough that's wrong. I think it's time to move forward, observe, move forward, observe, have to go back, clear something out.
Yeah.
So let's talk. I'm just going to finish off with one little story about how manipulated we've been. Do you know what the Kabbalah is? So they've got all the centers, the 12 centers of Kabbalah, and they want to negatively impact that pattern. Think of hopscotch, 1 step, 2 steps, 1 step, 2 steps. They're negatively impacting us with hopscotch as children. We've been so screwed over and messed up in so many ways. We're never going to figure all this out. So what do we have? Trust yourself.
I love playing hopscotch as a kid. Come on, Sandy, you're killing it for me.
Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. And then I find out that we're supposed to, with contracts, have your signature at the top and not the bottom. So we've been designed to have so many things screwed up. So let's have a good laugh at it. That was a good one. And keep moving forward, right? Who knew that this was so planned and programmed in our early lives?
And like I said, they've done it from the beginning. They've had the long game, thousands of years. We've been oblivious, right?
And we're not anymore. We're awake.
Anymore. You've woken the sleeping giants. And
aren't we amazing?
We may not be, physically giants, but you know what? Energetically, we are giants.
Totally.
Every single one of you in that chat, everybody who watches, you are a giant, and don't forget it.
Totally. And we're all coming up, we're all coming into our power. Each and every one of us who wants to be awake and wants to find out how to step into their power is what it's all about. And Dave's saying he doesn't buy into the shedding, and there's no right or wrong. I don't know. I don't know that it matters.
I don't know either.
It doesn't matter. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do anything different than I'm doing before now anyway, so I can observe and see what's going on, right? So,
right.
So it's 2:21.
I know.
We're 12:21. So maybe
but it was a good discussion. I knew it was
really
it's timely too, I think, because I think a lot of people are feeling it, and it's not going to get any better for a while from where the planets are and all these retrogrades, because retrogrades
nothing to get better.
More
changing.
Upset or not upset, but it makes you feel a little more uncomfortable. So
if you have retrograde planets in your birth chart, in your natal chart, so Betty and I have retrograde planets, and the message is it's time. So it's time. Just because things are retrograde for the masses doesn't mean that different people aren't going to get the cues and the signals to step ahead. And yes, I found your chart, and I'm going to do it this weekend. I promise you. Right, your natal chart.
Me?
Yeah, I found your natal chart. I went looking for it last night after we're talking, right? So I went and found it again. But understand where you are energetically and know how to align with these planets. If people knew how astrology worked, they would have every mother and father, when their baby was born, do an astrological chart so they know where to support their child, where their child has strengths, where the child has natural inclinations, where the child might have planets that aren't aligned within those certain houses within the chart, and know how to best support their children. So some people say, oh, this is all voodoo and Satanism, and it's like, leave me alone. Make your own choices. Make up your own minds. So
yeah. Don't bash. It took me. You know what? Came from that too. I had cards before. Do you know how many times I have bought cards? Do you have any idea how many times I have bought cards? And it finally dawned on me that everything is intention. And why did they make these evil? They made these evil so we wouldn't be able to tell the future and know what's coming, because the
peons wouldn't be able to read energy.
The foreknowledge, and we couldn't read, because this. Okay, you know what? It's a tool. This is a tool.
That's all it is. You are the true intelligence.
Yes. And, even actually, you know what? I did pull a card from my oracles before we go. And it was a very interesting one for this group for today, and about these energies. Guess what comes up?
Okay, I'm going to totally lie here.
Everything happens in divine
order.
So as these things are happening, so we are feeling these energies, and it sounds like we're going to be feeling them for a few months ahead. Things are going to be tough.
This is just this year. It's going to do it again next year. It's going to repeat, but it comes a month later. So we're going to go through cycles, even in the Gregorian calendar. Like, it's an astrological calendar, but we're going to go through this for a few more years. So it's going to come up, and there's going to be another layer of turmoil, right? I used to say patience is a virtue, but I'm not even going to go into what it doesn't work anymore. Patience is something I need to keep in mind, and I'm working on that.
Yeah, well, we all need to, because this is the long game, and this is for the rest of our lives, and it better be done right, so that we'll
support ourselves and
that we have what we need, and we're in the place that we need to be. So we need to be patient, not only with the situation in the world, but we also need to be patient with ourselves.
As we grow, we don't stay complacent. We grow and be patient. If we make mistakes, like we're both giving examples where we got angry and kind of blew out a little bit. Okay, so neither one of us are proud of ourselves. Doesn't matter. It happened. It's done. You work through it. If you owe an apology, you apologize, and you work through it. And that's how we go through this moving forward. So we're human. We're going to react, but we also observe as we're going through. But we should get going, Betty. It's 12:25 and no finishing comments.
What a great call. I mean, I really enjoyed today.
Totally.
I hope you guys.
And everybody's feedback and everybody contributing here. Elma, thank you for your comments. Teresa, Dave, Patty, I know
Alma,
Karen's on.
thank you for
Yes,
being here, everyone. I
James,
just so
John.
appreciate it. Makes it actually more fun when we get to see what you guys have to say too.
Yes,
It does add to the conversation, and sometimes
totally.
it's taking it in a different direction a little bit, but that's good because that means it's hitting what you need, not what we need, right? It's what we're here for, service. We're in
Totally.
service. And I laugh, but it's true. I'm not doing this for my own health. I'm doing this because I'm hoping.
We're doing this for everybody's health, including our own.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah. So on that note, we wish everybody a fabulous Friday and a great week. And we aren't sure what we're going to speak about next week, but it just seems to, whatever we need seems to come up.
It'll come. It'll come. Love you all. Have a wonderful Friday. Have a wonderful weekend.
Talk soon.